Dynamic Entry. Welcome back to the channel, guys. And today I will not be reviewing the Mario movie. I know, people wanted it, they asked for it, everybody was clamoring for it, but I heard it's actually pretty bad, so I didn't go see it, sadly. But that did inspire this idea for this video today, where I want to look at some future potential movies that are coming out based on video game franchises and rank them kind of on how well I think they'll do. Alright, so according to IGN, there are over 20 possible future franchises coming from video games, and we already have a few of them checked off here. We got the Silent Hill movie earlier this year, which was actually pretty bad, I heard, as well. We got the Mario Galaxy movie, and then later on this year we have a Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat 2 coming out, and those ones, I don't want to talk about those because we've already seen kind of what can happen with those, but I want to talk about some of the ones that we might not have seen yet that I think might have some potential, but also potential to be trash. And I also won't be talking about the ones that already have sequels confirmed, like Five Nights at Freddy's, Sonic, Minecraft. Those ones, those are not included in this as well. Let's just talk about some that have not been made yet. Okay, and before I get further into it, I want to reiterate that these are from IGN, so a lot of these have not really been officially announced yet, but they have been confirmed to be kind of happening in some sort of way, whether that be them already being in pre-production, in production, or just the idea that we have this movie and we are reserving the right to make it. So how far along these are, I don't really know. But the first one I'm going to talk about is one that I think is kind of just give or take, and that's going to be a Call of Duty movie. I figured we would have already gotten one of these by now. Somehow, some way, we've gone this long and we have not gotten one. But then again, I do think that just any type of war movie is pretty much Call of Duty. But if they do want to do a story, I think probably the most interesting story they could do would be like a Zombies from Black Ops story and make it, a blending of genres of like a war movie, but also a zombie movie. That would probably be best case scenario. But if not that, then I think the Kevin Spacey one, which I know he's canceled, we won't have him in it. But that Call of Duty game, I think it was Advanced Warfare, I think that probably had one of the stronger stories, like outside of Modern Warfare. Those ones get kind of confusing, especially with like the newer games. But I think Advanced Warfare itself has a pretty solid story where it'd be kind of just like a cool action film. So we could have that. And yeah, the villain, we can replace the actor with somebody just as cool or, as menacing as Kevin Spacey was in that movie. So yeah, Call of Duty is happening, just don't know when. It can be something that just comes out and people are like, oh, that was cool, I guess. So yeah, I just think it's just too generic. The only way that it wouldn't be as generic is if they did some sort of zombies tie-in story. And then kind of sticking in that genre, we are getting a Gears of War movie. Again, not quite sure when, but this kind of fits in the same realm as Call of Duty, except for the fact that this one can have a cooler storyline. It could be like a Starship Troopers type story where we're having like, bugs and crazy shit attack and having the flood attack. That would be kind of cool. So that would be not as generic. And I think the biggest issue they would have would be casting, because how can you cast people so big, like buff-wise, as the people in Gears of War? I think at one point they were going to make a Gears movie, and I think like The Rock was the front runner. This was years ago, to play probably Dom or something, maybe even Marcus Phoenix. But I think that's probably like the best bet you can do. You can have just wrestlers be them, and obviously the best ones would be The Rock, Batista, John Cena. Those are like the best actors, I feel, from wrestling that have come from wrestling. But outside that, it's really hard to find a good actor who is that buff. I mean, sure, they can get big, like, Hugh Jackman got for his role, but they can only get so big. They can't get, like, massive Gears of War type build. So that would be the biggest thing. But yeah, I was a PlayStation kid, so I wasn't really into the Xbox Gears of War franchise. I do know that it has a lot of fans, so I don't really know, like, the full story of it. But from what I've seen and what I've played, that would be the cooler aspect of it, is having these, like, alien bug type creatures kind of infest. So it wouldn't be like super amazing, I don't think, but I think it would be like cool enough to be like, you know what, yeah, I'll go check it out. So that's probably what I would do. I would just be like, oh yeah, I'll go check it out. Okay, and then kind of wrapping up these like whatever type movies based on games. The Sims is also coming out. I don't really know what you could do with The Sims. I think it would have to be animated at this point. If you did do like a live action, I think Free Guy kind of did that sort of style already, where you're just like seeing the character and all his wants and needs and all that stuff. But if not, yeah, I think that it would have to be animated and kind of just be very meta with the way they do it. Like, oh, we have needs or whatever. Like kind of the Lego Movie, I guess, aspect of it, where like you realize that you are a sim and you want to break out of the simulation. That would probably be the direction that I could see this going in, because The Sims itself doesn't really have like a crazy story. It's a life simulator. So whatever you decide to do in the game is kind of what happens in the game itself. So I don't know, but of course we have to have some sort of callback to maybe killing your sim. So that would be a pretty funny joke I could see happening. Like, oh no, I'm trapped in the kitchen and there's a fire everywhere. Somebody took out the ladders from my pool. What can I do to get out? Something like that. But yeah, I do think it has to be animated. Live action, I don't really see too much interest in this, but hey, we're getting some sort of movie. All right, and these next ones are going to be like absolute, like, mind-blowing properties to make into movies. We're getting a Ghost of Tsushima movie, which Samurai Showdown, sick. Just follow the story from the game to the T, and I feel like they'll have a good film. It is hard, though, because I know some directors want to take their own creative freedoms and make it different from the game, because at that point it's like, well, what's the point of even making a live action if you already have the game? And that's like a problem with a lot of PlayStation properties, I feel. Like Last of Us Season 1, they got really lucky. They were able to break away from that and kind of just like make their own little side stories. But overall, it's like the story is so concise and dense that it's hard to have any freedoms with it. Same thing with Ghost of Tsushima. Although it is like an open world game, the story itself is pretty linear. And yeah, you just have to follow Jin's journey, and I think that'd be really cool. So yeah, the coolest thing they could probably do is get like, first of all, get a really good director, like who can do this type of movie. Maybe the people who did like The Raid, that'd be sick. But also if they made it in black and white to make it true to the form of the game, but also, a callback to classic samurai movies, I think that'd be really cool. Or at least have the option to go see it in black and white at the movie theaters when it releases, So yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, as long as they stick within the story itself, I think it'd be really good and really huge. And then another Sony banger, Horizon Zero Dawn. We're getting one of those movies, of course. Again, something that I feel like should have happened a while ago. I think they could have capitalized on this a few years ago when it was, bigger than what it is now. But having this come out, this would be really cool to see, especially having just like the big ass like techno dinosaurs and all the animals that we can see. The budget with this would have to be pretty huge, just because there's so many things that they have to explore. And yeah, just the CGI itself is going to be huge. It's going to be like a Transformers movie, but with a better story. And the actress who plays Aloy, I feel sorry for her, because I'm sure she'll get a lot of hate, because people hate these types of characters. But I love Aloy and I love Horizon, so a story like this would be really cool. And the story itself, again, very very dense, and it's kind of hard to stray from that. But just a coming-of-age story. She saves the world, basically, and then it sets up for the sequel, which would be really cool too. So this has a lot of potential. Probably one of the ones I'm most excited for, because the game itself was it's something that I really loved when it came out, and the story, very cool. Yeah, and Aloy is just a really cool character, and the world itself of Horizon is very cool. Like, something that's in the future, but it feels like it's in the past kind of thing, and we're just rediscovering our old technology that we moved on from, and there's a reason for it. So yeah, Horizon would be a really cool movie. I'm excited for this one. My dream director, I'm not sure yet. It wouldn't be Michael Bay, though, I'll tell you that. But somebody who can handle this type of main character, but also being able to do the big action set pieces that are required from this story. Gonna be hard, but I think it can be done, and I think this would be a big hit eventually when it comes out. Hopefully it's not like terrible. And we are getting a Sleeping Dogs movie. This one is a little bit further along than the other projects that I mentioned, because we do have somebody attached to it. Simu from Shang-Chi, that Marvel film, Simu Liu, I can never say his name right. He is going to be, I think, the main character, but also maybe directing it. But Sleeping Dogs was just like a cult classic. It's just like if you were into like Grand Theft Auto or like Saints Row, but we're also into true crime, Streets of LA, that game. It just all got smashed together, because I think Sleeping Dogs was supposed to be a true crime sequel, but something happened along the way where they kind of veered off from it. But yeah, if you have not played Sleeping Dogs, this game is so much fun, and Emma Stone's actually in it. She's cool, so that'd be kind of interesting if they had her come back and like reprise her role. That'd be really cool. But yeah, I like Simu. He's a really good actor, and I like his fight abilities. Like, he's able to do his own stunts, and he's like, trained. So that's what you need for this main character. He needs to be able to just beat ass and, take names. And yeah, it's just going to be a dumb action movie. It's going to be like, I guess, kind of like John Wick, but like in a more fun style. So maybe like, I guess Hardcore Henry, if you've seen that. That could be kind of the direction they go with it. Something like that, where it's just like nonstop action, and he's just like constantly doing one big adventure for the day, just like hunting down, all these people, and, something like that, I think would be really cool. But yeah, I'm just excited to see what they do with it, because it is kind of bigger than just the idea. It's already like coming together, and he's been wanting to do it, which is always cool when an actor actually wants to do something from like a game. And they're not just like, oh, I'm collecting a paycheck. No, like, this guy's actually passionate about it. So I think it'd be really cool. And then finally, the one I'm most excited for is going to be Death Stranding. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but I think it's gonna be a trip. I think they're already doing a Metal Gear Solid movie, so Hideo Kojima's busy probably working on that, so this one might be a little bit further along. But if you play Death Stranding, you know the story and how crazy it gets, and it's just so hard to explain to somebody who hasn't played it. And even me, I didn't finish the first game, but I've seen the cutscenes of the story. That's kind of what you can do with Kojima games. You could just watch a big long cut of the cutscenes, and it just paints a crazy picture, and just seeing into the mind of Kojima is like ridiculous. But yeah, I do think the fact that they've already had big actors play the roles, like Norman Reedus, you could just have him be the main guy from fucking Death Stranding and just have him be in the movie. There you go. And Troy Baker as Higgs is one of the coolest like villains ever. His design is so cool, especially like in the second one when he comes back as like a creepy looking like scarecrow, or not scarecrow, the Crow looking kind of villain. I think he does a really good job with it. I don't know if they would have him reprise his role, because for some reason they don't want Troy Baker as an actor. They only want him as a voice actor. But yeah, somebody like him would be really cool, and just like the story of it is just so insane. And yeah, I don't know. It would just be a big, dark, weird, avant-garde type story. And I think that Denis Villeneuve, the guy who directed Dune and Blade Runner and all that, I think this is right up his alley. I think he could kill it. Although I know Guillermo del Toro is in the game, I wouldn't want him directing this. I want it to be a little bit more serious than Guillermo's used to. He tends to get a little bit wacky with his movies, although they're cool and visually stunning. I don't think he can handle the substance of this story. I think that Denis would do a really good job with it, and he would respect it, although he's really busy doing a bunch of shit, so I doubt he would do it. But this feels like a Denis Villeneuve, whatever, type film, and the story for this is just crazy, and I think it's probably the one that translates the best to film, as far as like, you need a movie to tell this story. The game itself is cool, but it is like a walking simulator at the end of the day. This being watched, I think, would make it a bigger IP, just because a lot of people didn't play the game because they were turned off by having to walk so much. But if you stuck with it and you looked at the story, you would see that it's just so deep and crazy, and it's just like, whoa. So yeah, I think Death Stranding would benefit the most from this, and probably the one I'm most excited for, even though it's not my most favorite game amongst these games that are getting movies. I think that it would be my favorite movie if it were to get made. And yeah, that is the future of game films for you. Again, I mentioned earlier, there are over like 20 properties that have been, stamped and approved for future film adaptations. And some of them are even being turned into series, like Fallout and God of War. So we haven't even, talked about those. But there are so many things coming by the way of movie adaptations. And it's cool to see that, the success of Last of Us and Fallout have made it so to where, hey, there might be some sort of money to be made in this, so we don't have to just make shitty video game movies like we got in the past, like with Resident Evil and Doom and all that stuff. No, we could have something cool and thought-provoking, because games as a medium should be respected as far as their storytelling goes. So yeah, I think this will finally give them the respect they deserve. And I'm not saying that all these are going to be bangers. That's why I mentioned earlier that some of these will just be like whatever films. But the ones that do have the potential to be, bangers, I think will be bangers. And I look forward to them. So which ones are you looking forward to? Let me know down below. Which ones do you not want to see? Also, let me know down there and below in the comments. And if you want to follow us, you can do that in the description. Also, if you'd like to subscribe, we would really appreciate it, because we're almost at 700 subs, which is kind of cool. So thank you guys for watching. As always, we appreciate you for being here. And until next time, go make that movie you've been working on.